Good evening.
Good
everybody.
evening.
You're watching Top of the Pops, and very soon you'll see our very last exclusive. I love you all.
Alright, so we're going to be seeing Take That tonight, or today, on this Top of the Pops reaction.
Hello,
Nikki Campbell's your host.
Good to be back. Top of the Pops, the show that puts the Shaz in Shazam, the Raz in Razzmatazz, and the Terrorvision into your television.
Alright, kick it off with Perseverance by Terrorvision. Right, so welcome to another Top of the Pops reaction. This one is kind of a box ticker for me, as it's the first 1996 reaction I've managed to do. So now the only 1990s year of the 90s, that is left to do is 1993, and then I'll have reacted to at least one edition of Top of the Pops in every year of that decade. But rather than worry about the future and whether we can get a 93 one done, and hopefully we will sooner or later, let's enjoy this one, and on an interesting date as well. February 29th, 1996 was this original broadcast, so leap day on the leap year of 1996. Obviously 2022, all these years later, this isn't a leap year, so this will be going out likely February the 28th, or you may not be watching it on February the 28th, you could be watching it any time from February 28th, 2022 onwards. This is what On Demand is all about. So, Perseverance by Terrorvision. Decent song this, I think one of their more bigger hits. Jason Clow, not suitable for mum, will be pleased. I know he's quite the Terrorvision fan. I think they're an act he's seen live, at least on more than one occasion. Put my date notes away. That's the only notes that I ever make for these editions of Top of the Pops, as I like to be surprised, essentially. I do have a quick scrub through, as I've mentioned before, just to check that not too much has been edited out and the overall quality is acceptable for both you and I. But generally, I don't know what's coming up on here, on this edition. Whether I saw it originally, there's a chance, but I wouldn't remember if I had. I'm just assuming I never watched this upon its original broadcast. 20, how many years ago is it? 26 years ago? Yeah, God, 26 years ago. Wow. I would have been 15 when this edition was originally broadcast, by the way. But that was Terrorvision, pretty good that.
On the show tonight, David Bowie, Pet Shop Boys, Tina Turner, Take That. It's like a Stars in Their Eyes special, except we've got the real thing, as far as we know. Let's proceed with Gusto.
So this is Gusto. I couldn't even read that on what the name of the track was. He did mention something about the real thing. I don't know if that was just his way of making a joke, or whether that is part of the title. You'll see on the ticker bar the information that's required. I will have to apologise, particularly if there's any darker text that's coming up on screen such as that, and it didn't stay on screen very long either. As of me recording this, my eyesight is still pretty bad, and I'm recording this in more daylight hours. I do a lot of these in the evening, and I thought, well, I've got some time today, as in the afternoon. I'll get this done, and hopefully some more natural lights will help me. But the thing is, I've still got my great ring light right in front of me that dazzles me at the best of times, even back when my eyesight was pretty decent. Yeah, anyway, that's not very interesting. So yeah, that suffice it to say, if I miss anything, it'll be in the information bar, and I apologise, but bad mince pies. So, Gusto, I'm trying to think if I remember this. It does sound familiar, so it's no doubt something I would have heard around and about in 1996. Kind of a standard house track of the time. Nothing overly exciting. I think the singer's got quite a nice pair of legs. I do it every time, don't I? Kiki Heathen, you know you love it. And she does sound to be singing. She does seem to be singing live as well. So I can't tell you anything about Gusto. It could be one of these sort of somewhat anonymous dance acts that are more well-known DJ or producers behind. But he's average of that. We've got Celine Dion, and she's at number 10. This is Falling Into You. We've had a lot of Celine Dion on the Top of the Pops reaction series, haven't we? Thinking back to over a year ago with My Heart Will Go On, and a few months back with, I think it was The Reason, on an edition that I reacted to from 97. Falling Into You was the title track from the album of the same name. I do have this album on mini disc. Oh, and we're going to see chart as well. I might struggle to read some of this, but I'll try my best to notify you of anything particularly interesting, although you can see it all for yourself. Nothing really catching my eye so far. There's Oasis at 30 with Wonderwall though. Oh, Ocean Colour Scene with Riverboat Song. Oh, Hyper Ballad by Björk. Great single that, I had that. There's one from Entrance there. Status Quo featuring the Beach Boys. I do remember that, sadly. R. Kelly, a new entry. Less said about him, the better. Slight Return by the Blue Tones. That was I think that's a number 2 hit single there. I had it. Great Britpop song. Michael Jackson Earth Song, which I think was the Christmas number 1 for 1995. David Bowie featuring the Pet Shop Boys. I think we're going to be seeing that later on, so that's going to be a nice treat. So that was your top, what was it, 40 to 11. As for this, it's fine. For Celine Dion, it's about as good as you can get, really.
Song contest tomorrow night, BBC One at 8 o'clock as we pick one for Europe. Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more. Right now, Gabrielle, give me a little more time.
Alright, Give Me a Little More Time by Gabrielle, and this is at number 14. Very Motown-y, 60s soul sort of vibe to this. I remember quite enjoying this when it first came out, this single. I didn't have it. I don't think I ever bought or aimed to buy or collect anything by Gabrielle. She wasn't really an artist I followed or was massively fond of, but I think this was one of the songs of hers I did prefer out of her considerable back catalogue. She was pretty big around this time, mid to late 90s. Don't think we see an awful lot of her now. I don't think this is a cover version. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, then I will have no doubt put an annotation down there in the info bar. But thank you for joining me again for this Top of the Pops reaction. As you will have no doubt noticed, this is indeed the second episode I've reacted to in February. Just with finding this, it being 1996, and I wanted to get a 1996 episode done. I figured as the previous one was very early on in the month, and this being, well, at the very end of the month, February would be a good month to do 2 in, but that's not something that I'm intending to make a regular thing again. I was doing 2 a month for much of last year, and I soon realised that I was just burning through good quality episodes, like, well, twice as fast really. Whereas the previous year, when this series really started kicking into gear, 2020, Although there was one particular month, that would have been April 2020, I did about 3 extra Top of the Pops reactions because I was doing this video a day project, which I've completed it, but even looking back, it seemed rather unnecessarily ambitious for me. But generally, it's 1 a month for these, and apart from rare occasions such as February, such as this month, where you've had 2 for the price of 1. Well, it's 2 for the price of none, really, as it costs nothing to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Well, unless you're maybe on YouTube Premium. Yep, I enjoyed that. Probably my favourite thing that we've heard tonight. Gabrielle.
A great song and a marvellous piece of advice.
So via satellite, we've got Sting. And this is... Oh, I couldn't even see it. I couldn't see it. Didn't stay on screen for very long, and just that sort of orangey yellow text on a dark background is and the ring light, and me essentially doing this blind at the moment. Yeah. But this doesn't sound familiar to me at all, really. I was listening to a lot of music in '96. Maybe not quite as much as the next year, '97 and '98, because I was doing college radio by then. And therefore I was getting exposed to a lot more music that I'd normally ignore or just wouldn't come across. But '96, my GCSE year, so I was still at school, at secondary school, when this episode was first transmitted. Here we go, we've got some top 40 predictions for next week, or this coming Sunday. Take That, Boyzone, Supergrass, Eternal, Paul Weller and Bon Jovi, and it's a minor miracle I could see all that. Well, yeah, I think we're going to be seeing Take That later on. I think Nicky Campbell also mentioned Tina Turner. And David Bowie featuring the Pet Shop Boys, which is a pretty legendary collaboration. I'm not really feeling this. This does sound like it's something that's been remixed. This is probably not the original version of whatever this is, but I don't know, I couldn't say. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. It just seems, I don't know, it seems a little bit generic, this. Kind of another, I suppose a bit similar to, what was it, Gusto that was on earlier. Sort of a house slash pop slash dance track that there's nothing, nothing special, and just kind of sounds a bit samey to a lot of other stuff that was around in the chart at the same time. Yeah.
She's back. Her first studio album for 6 years, Wildest Dreams, a European tour coming up. Let us worship at the shrine of the goddess, Tina Turner.
So it's an exclusive here from Tina Turner, and the song is... Oh, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it again. Oh dear. I can blame the text and the colour of it and everything else, but I know that if my eyes are a lot better, I wouldn't, not that much of a problem. So Tina Turner needs no introduction from me. Veteran female vocalist who was obviously still having hits in well into the mid to late 90s. This would have been about 3 years or 2 years, I think, after her Bond theme, GoldenEye. Great film. The theme was fine for what it was. And Tina Turner there, showing that even women of a certain age can still get the old pins out. Why not, Tina? They've always been good quality. if there's one thing that was, or two things that was more famous than Tina Turner's distinctive voice, it was her left and right legs. But as for whether I'm enjoying this or not, there seems to be a lot of like weird backup dancing on this edition, doesn't there? Like those backup dancers, like I don't know, via satellite in New York with Sting, and some weird dancing that only seems to be happening in bursts during Tina's performance here. I don't think she's singing live though, which is you know, fair play. Oh no, there you go, the dancers again. So yeah, it's been a fair amount of stuff that I've not really been familiar with. I knew Terrorvision and I quite like that track. New Gabrielle, I think still so far my favourite performance on the show. That Gusto song, I didn't really seem all that familiar. Oh, obviously Celine Dion, I knew that. But, you know, they did play an awful lot of it, mainly for the benefit of the chart countdown. And this one from Tina Turner, real name Annie Mae Bullock, by the way, and that's no Bullocks. Sorry. I don't know this either. Doesn't sound familiar. No, I'm not ringing any vague bells really. It's all right. It's been a bit average so far, this edition, for me personally. But let me know what you think in the comments.
David Bowie, I loved him when I was 14, and here we are, 5 years on, and I still love him. Comedian, chameleon, Corinthian, and caricature. Not forgetting Chris and Neil. Hello, Spaceboy.
Well, yeah, I knew this one anyway, so I know I can. It doesn't matter. I know it's at number 12. I can see that, and I know this is Hello, Spaceboy. David Bowie. They credited it as David Bowie featuring Pet Shop Boys, and I think it was my mother, weirdly enough, who had the single of this on cassette. I did used to listen to it sometimes because, as you know, I'm a massive Pet Shop Boys fan. David Bowie, I like some of his stuff. I've never been like majorly fond of him. I've never been like a massive fan, but it's a sort of act. If I investigated more of his work, and there's been a lot of it, obviously, from, you know, kind of the mid to late 60s until his passing, which was what, middle of the last decade. You know, he was a very prolific artist. But yeah, this is a good single. There they are. Look, Neil and Chris, the Pet Shop Boys. Yeah, so this is a real sort of meeting of superstars here. I mean, David Bowie. There is Neil Tennant now. So yeah, I suppose it is like a proper collaboration. I always thought the single was like just credited to David Bowie, and then in fairly prominent text somewhere on it, it said produced by the Pet Shop Boys. But Top of the Pops are treating it like a proper duet, and it is a proper duet, really, isn't it? But yeah, this is great. I'm trying to think who would have wrote this. They probably wrote it together. Probably a Bowie Tennant Lowe composition as well as recorded. But yeah, excellent. So obviously this is a highlight for me, even above Gabrielle, in what has been a little bit of a mundane episode for me so far. But this has really picked it up for me. I'm very happy with Hello Spaceboy. Really suits Bowie's distinctive vocals, this. Makes me wish he'd kind of done more work with Pet Shop Boys, really. As I suppose they may have produced his album that came out around this time, and I don't know what that is. I want to probably put some information about it up on screen. So there may be other PSB collaborations in the David Bowie universe floating around, but this is certainly the only one that I'm familiar with. I'm trying to think if it gets higher than number 12. I've got a feeling he probably doesn't, actually. Bit of a shame, this deserved to be at least top 10. And if it was top 10, then I would have, you know, I would have corrected myself automatically with the right chart position on screen.
Do this next band really need an introduction? Here they are. Take that.
Right, so Take That, it's an exclusive, and I think this is predicted to be number 1 in the following, you know, top 40, the following singles chart. This was How Deep Is Your Love, cover of the Bee Gees. Excuse me. And it was basically their farewell single, and you know, Robbie Williams had left the year before, 1995. They were releasing a greatest hits album around this time as well, and kind of saying goodbye to everyone doing the media rounds. And as farewell singles go, I mean, I was never a Take That fan. I probably liked them more when, like, they reformed like 10, 11 years later. I thought, you know, but this is so bland, this. It's like, look, I mean, they're not even getting out of first gear here. As covers go, it just sounds so just boring and dull, doesn't it? Although, you know, Gary Barlow is on lead vocals, so, you know, he's kind of like the personification of boring and dull, really, isn't he? Let's be honest. But I do think, I'm not going to sit here saying, oh yeah, Take That released a load of great singles in the 90s, because there's really only a couple of them, maybe 3 at a pinch, that I could say that I quite liked, and the rest I just wouldn't thank you for. But I would say, my own personal opinion, this cover of How Deep Is Your Love is one of their worst singles. It's just, it's a snooze fest, this. Just bad. You know, you think that, saying goodbye, you know, this is going to be our last single, because obviously, you know, they had no idea that they would be getting back together again, would they? Maybe they had hoped, or certain members had hoped so, years down the line, but for all intents and purposes, they were going their separate ways forever. And couldn't they have, I mean, Gary Barlow, I can say plenty uncomplimentary about him, but he was a prolific songwriter. Couldn't you shout out something better than this? Even the production of it just sounds like no one can be bothered, really. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of teeny boppers in the Top of the Pops audience there enjoying it. I mean, it got to number 1 because it was like, oh, it's the last Take That single, you know, all the teenage girls felt they had to buy it. But yeah, I doubt Robbie Williams saw this and lost any sleep, because certainly Gary Barlow, I think he was on a bit of a public feud with at this point. Of course, they've all made up and made friends in more recent years, and Robbie Williams, of course, did rejoin Take That for an album. What was that, about 8 or 9 years ago? That Progress album, he appeared on it, but it was only a temporary return. And of course, another member left. Was it Howard Donald or Jason Orange? I don't know. I always get those two mixed up.
They belong to you and me. Fingers crossed. Reunion tour next century. Top 10.
It's funny you should say that, Nicky.
And at number 10, Celine Dion. She was on the show tonight, Falling Into You. At 9, they were on the show with Disco's Revenge.
Right, okay.
Number 8, the Lighthouse Family with Lifted. At 7, Loonies.
Oh, great song, Loonies. I got 5 on it.
Header at number 6, I Wanna Be a Hippie. Terrorvision started the show tonight. They're at 5 with Perseverance. At 4, Babylon Zoo. And
former number 1. Great number 1 as well, Babylon Zoo.
3T, Anything. And at 2 with Children.
Oh, I love that, Children, Robert Matt. Some good songs in the top 10.
And on top of the world, looking down on creation, The Explanation, a huge rock and roll talent and not inconsiderable personal charm.
Oh, excellent. Well, I didn't think anything could top David Bowie and Pet Shop Boys for me, but I do love Don't Look Back in Anger. Brilliant single. Final single off the second Oasis album, What's the Story, Morning Glory. And it would have been the second one off that album that got to number 1 as well. As you know, I do like Oasis, I'm a pretty big fan of theirs. I've got all their albums. I've even got a few of the singles on record, albeit a couple of them having been more recent reissues rather than the 1990s originals. Also noteworthy, this was the first Oasis single where Noel had lead vocals. I don't think Liam plays anything on this track, really. You know, he might have shook a tambourine in the studio, but I bet you in the if you can catch a glimpse of him at some point during this performance, I bet he's on the piano, because you know, why not? It'll be some session guy on the piano for the actual real track recording, but you know, if Liam's shown up to the Top of the Pop studio with the band, then stick him at the bit. Yeah, there he is. Look, told you. But yeah, don't let that fool you. Liam Gallagher did not play piano on this most wonderful of tracks. The iconic Union flag guitar there from that Noel's playing. Yeah, I think they mime. I mean, I think Oasis generally did mime, certainly during this era of their career, whenever they came on Top of the Pops. In fact, they used to kind of take the piss out of the whole lip-syncing business, and after, you know, Liam miming to Noel miming to Liam's vocals on other performances, and other bandmates kind of just pissing around with their instruments and swapping them around and stuff. I remember reading somewhere that Bonehead, I think it might have been during their Top of the Pops performance of Whatever, he decided to go off and play the cello with the little mini orchestra that was on stage. I'll look out for that edition of Top of the Pops. It'll be from '94, but I couldn't tell you what specific date. Yeah. What can I say about this? Fantastic. Love it. Love it. So yeah, this has really picked up as an edition of TOTP for me, this. After stuff that was either okay or kind of disappointing, really. Certainly that Sting satellite performance. I will not lose any sleep if I never see that again after the edit of this video. But yeah, Gabrielle, enjoyed that. David Bowie and Pet Shop Boys, fantastic duet, fantastic collaboration there, and great to see them all together on Top of the Pops. And Oasis at number 1 with one of their most strongest singles of all time. You know, this was peak Oasis, wasn't it? And we'd be, what, a few months off, maybe about 6 months off Nebworth, the legendary two-nighter, two-dayer event at Nebworth in Hertfordshire, where they played to over 250,000 people, and probably could have sold out a few more nights.
Saturday. All the artists from tonight are having a sing-song in the bar right now. Yeah, all right, David, I'm coming, okay?
Alright, so playing out with just a little bit of a clip from the Top of the Pops 2 that would have been on the following Saturday. Stevie Wonder Uptight, but the credits are on, so this is my time to say thank you all again for watching. Thank you to my subscribers and my beautiful, generous patrons. Please will you join me again next month for my next Top of the Pops reaction. See ya!